Malo, Eteroa and Julia, thank you so much for being part of our 10 for 10 series of interviews with social impact leaders. It's great to have you here and yeah, thank you for making time.
Please.
So tell me a little bit about yourselves. Eteroa, starting perhaps with you, your formative years.
Formative. Oh, I'm going to start using that. Well, my lole soi for Robin, whaftai mo le awanoa. Mo lava te si le whaftai mo le viinga le tua. A wālonga angelei, malong tata. Talofa lava, everyone. Thank you, Robin, for this amazing opportunity. My full name is Nuali Eteroa Lafaele. Formative years. Or go way back before I wasn't even born. Both my parents hail from the beautiful island of Samoa, and then they made the move to not Auckland, not Nelson, not the South Island, but to the place of champions, Cannons Creek. So I'm the youngest out of three children, and born and bred in Cannons Creek. Spent 18 years of my beautiful life there until I made the move when I was 18 to come up to Auckland to study at AUT, where really a lot of my career really started wasn't after uni. It started in uni as well. So did a lot of that time as a computer scientist, graduated, worked in corporate. So went into my first gig at Vend, which is called Lightspeed now, and then went into Dev Academy, and then went into the world of startups, which was quite intense. And then, Sister Julia always knows this, but somehow in the IFA became an expert hire at Xero. And then 2 years felt like 20, got baptized in the Yarra River, and then made the move to see Julia at Fibre Fale. So, that's been quite a journey along with that. Did a lot of work refurbishing laptops, teaching our communities how to code throughout that journey. But other than that, all rounder, I'm just proud to make Tai Samoa, ready to help and support those, especially in the field that Julia and I are very proud of, tech. So, and in equity as well. So that's a bit about me. To really smash this amazing story together, you must also get to know my beautiful sister, who I'll then send the raka over to right now. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Robin, for having us both here today. It's a privilege to have both of us on one call. I have to tell you that because as a small team, we are dividing, and I wouldn't use the term conquering. We are dividing and trying everywhere across our business. So just really happy to be here, really proud to be here. And yeah, my formative years. So I grew up with a single mum, and really how that then transferred in terms of how I see myself, how I understand my role in the world, how I view the role of work and career and independence and financial independence. It just had a lot of urgency to it. I was always brought up in a way where money doesn't grow on trees. You've got to create your own path. No one's going to save you. And equally, to a certain extent, the world is your oyster. And growing up with a really strong parent figure and a really strong female parent figure also really taught me the power of a woman, and the power of a woman to go against the grain, to break stereotypes, to not necessarily be what traditions and the patriarchy have created storylines about our roles in this world. And I'd say that really built my understanding that I didn't have to be a passenger in life. I didn't have to be passive in my place in the world. And I definitely didn't have to wait for a man to decide my worth either, and whether or not I was somebody of value. And I think as I moved into I guess understanding how I wanted to make a difference in this world, my mum also was incredibly strong in recognizing that she was always a fighter for underdogs. but she always wanted to help people. Not only is that part of like a cultural value that is really, really important as Pacific peoples, definitely observing and seeing my mum who would go out of her way to help a stranger, who would go out of her way to sacrifice herself and our own means to be able to look after others. I saw that a lot growing up. So just thinking about how that then created the person that's here today, it's like definitely determination, strong, willing your way into life, believing that the world is not going to hand anything to you on a platter, knowing that the way in which the system is set up is to keep you small, and also recognizing that your role inherently in this world is to make lives better for others, not just for yourself, has definitely been things that have stayed with me for a really long time, and obviously has formed what is now my career journey, but also my business journey too. So that's just a little bit about my my start in life.
So what were your earliest experiences of tech as children? How did you step into this world?
So for me, technology was never really part of my life. I only sought out technology when I was strategizing and evaluating what is going to be a high growth industry that has lower barrier to entries in terms of your academia results. So I'm somebody that is constantly thinking ahead. Even right now, I'm thinking about what's the positioning I need to be in the future to make sure that I'm future-proofing myself, recognizing that jobs are continuously being disestablished, discontinued. The world is moving at, a pace that we can't actually keep up with. And so early in my career, I was working in FMCG. I worked a little bit in healthcare and pharma. And at the time, there was narratives around, consumer goods are declining and this, that, and the other. And where is the high growth industries? Where are the industries that are going to be, staying with us for the next 10, 100 years? And that's when I found and kind of discovered technology as a sector and as an industry. It was quite a bit longer, I guess, after the dot-com boom, but there was still a lot of noise around where technology was going, where it already was, and that if you were going to be able to continue to future-proof yourself, you needed to be in this industry. And so I kind of made a sidestep move. I was in agency world, or I was kind of servicing different clients and working across different sectors. And I made the call that I wanted to kind of step into a particular vertical, which was technology, which also is a horizontal industry as well, because it cuts across everything now. But at the time, it was very much seen as its own, and still is its own sector in and of itself. So I discovered less of it as a young child. It wasn't something that I was looking for. I wasn't good at maths. I'm non-technical in the tech industry. But as I guess was looking and thinking about, well, how is this role in the world, and how am I going to have a career that's going to be able to pay bills? That's when technology started to answer some of those questions I had. Over to you, sis.
Mine started when I was year 12. Sister knows this very well, but I used to, instead of tech, it was actually chemistry. So I used to be in like the chemistry realm. I was in titration competitions. I could get to the next decimal point. But it was from that journey when I had a scholarship at the McDermott Institute, where while everyone was having the holidays, I was in the dungeon with my pets doing all these chemical reactions, where I walked into a room full of computer science stuff. Somehow it kind of moved me to change from chemistry to computer science. But other than that, did grow up with very fortunate to grow up with a computer. It was quite before, my first computer at home was the floppy disk one, and then my old school one was an HP full whole set PC set, and just I wasn't really like fully immersed in it. I just was quite comfortable with it, but it wasn't until that time in year 12 to 13 where I kind of made the move to challenge myself, and that really opened the doors to the journey that we're here now. So very blessed, very interesting, very grateful.
So you had a computer at home as a kid. What did you see in your wider school community in terms of access to technology?
So I was very very fortunate that so growing up in Cannons Creek, I was more aware that my parents shifted me in different environments. So instead of me having school in Cannons Creek, my parents actually moved me to a school in Johnsonville. The reason why was because mum worked across the road, so it was easy for her to pick me up. But I think from there, compared to my time at church, I knew straight away, one, the difference between mindsets, and two, the difference between accessibility and resource. So at St. Bridget, man, we had heaps of laptops. Oh, not even laptops, just heaps of computers. And then when I go to church, I find out there that not many of my classmates at Sunday school had the same resources that I was quite blessed. So I was already aware of the differences where my parents placed me, and it was all based off them wanting me to, or them investing in my education. But two, I knew from a very young age just the difference. So I kind of was in the in between. You could call it the gray area as this, where I actually got to see the difference between the two worlds. One, because I lived it when I went home back to church every week. And then when I got taken into a different environment, oh my gosh, it was just like, how do you hold it in? You're 5 years old, you're trying to figure it all out, but you're also confused at the same time. So, yeah, no, that was an eye opener for my journey of understanding the equity piece as well.
Yeah, and to be fair, it was like similar in the sense with when we were growing up in Grey Lynn, and this was pre gentrification, because obviously when I say that now, it means very different things. There was a lot of it. You know, I started in school at Maristone Bay, which was just around the corner, and then my mum decided to move me to Remuera Primary, but we were still living in Grey Lynn, and the perception of life in Remuera Primary School was very, very different to what the reality was of living in Grey Lynn. And equally, I went to Ponsonby Intermediate, which again means different things back when I was in school. And then my mum decided that we'd move down to Ototahi, down to Christchurch, and I'd go to an all-girls private school. And that was when I really faced true privilege in terms of what you can experience in the education system. Like we had whole computer labs, and it was unbelievable. What the wealth, I guess, wealth, access, and privilege, and the kind of how that can shape your education. I again was not. It was no way, shape, or form an A+ student in high school. I just really want that to be. There was a lot of privilege to go into that school, and I would say my mum probably never felt I really showed that in academia. I was still on my journey to finding myself. However, I recognize what it did teach me in those environments was that you had to put your hand up, and excellence was the benchmark. Anything below excellence was basically a non-achieved. And so being in that kind of cultural environment, as kind of Ete mentioned, being in that space around, you are gonna have to put your best foot forward regardless. And I obviously was very comfortable at not getting excellences, even though that was the standard. And I mean, the school asked me to come back and do speeches now, so look how it all turned out. That's sort of something that I want to honor about how that's then shaped me and my particular experiences as well, and just the role that played in terms of when you're around others where they're talking about what law degrees they're doing and what this and that, and it does shape you as a young person. It definitely shapes you as a young person. And so even though it was hard to be the one of 3 brown people at that school that had its own challenges, I'll never deny the amount of privilege that you got to experience in some of those education institutions, because yeah, for Ete and I to be walking multiple worlds and seeing multiple worlds, and kind of building a level of comfort zone. I wouldn't say we ever felt super comfortable, but we'd been exposed to it and we'd been around it for some of those early years of our life. And ultimately, those spaces become the corporate spaces, and those spaces become the tech spaces, as they are for right now anyway. And so for us to have a bit more of a nous around how they move, how they function, who's in them, is again, I just want to honor the privilege that gives us. Or maybe it just helps us to be at the starting line. Maybe there's not really any privilege when we enter the workforce, but it at least gets us to the starting line.
So how did you two meet and obviously form a strong enough relationship that you went into creating Fibre Fale?
Oh, there's so many layers to the story. Sis, do you want to kick us off?
Once upon a time, there was there was our sister Julia, who was living her amazing life overseas, you know. It was bomb.com. She was head of strategy of HP, everything, traveling, living the dream, living the vida loca. And then my staff sister Eteroa was just, you know, doing my life as a software engineer here in Aotearoa. COVID came, and before actually the lockdown, Sister Julia um, navigated her way back to the beautiful shores of Aotearoa. And when Sister came back, she was really coming back with a heart of yearning to give back. So you got to remember, Sister's done a lot of things. She did all of that within 25 years old, you know. So traveled the world, did X, Y, Z. Sorry, you know, Sister lived the dream. She worked very hard for what she's done, and you know, there was a yearning for Sister to come back and serve. At the same time, we were different. We were in the same area, but we didn't force the relationship. I.e., a lot of people would be like, "Eteroa, you have to do something with Julia. Julia, you have to talk to Eteroa." And I think through our own experiences in life, we kind of went, "Let us naturally meet." And when we say naturally meet, it's when Julia goes and hits you up on your DMs. So she Instagram messaged me. We caught up a few, like we, you know, Insta messaged for a while, but then we finally made it out of the chat, and we met at Royal Oaks KFC, where we, you know, the order exactly is, you know, did you have a zinger burger, sis? I think you had a zinger burger. Well,
Probably.
yeah, it was a zinger burger, you know, thigh combination, extra seasoning. And then, you know, regardless of the amazing food, we sat there and we actually cried. Cried because Sister traveled many miles away, and yet she still felt the same way that I did in Aotearoa, as one, as a woman in tech, but two, as a Pasefika coloured person in tech as well. And that already spoke a lot for us, because it just showed, regardless where we go, it's still the same. So from there really was the birth of not just Fibre Fale, but just the relationship myself and my sister have. And I think that was kind of, Sister always says this, we're married in this business, but it's more not just the business, we're married for the mission. Support a lot of our Pasifika, but also our minorities. But you know, the mission has always they've from that start of the mission, but myself and Julia have noticed the mission has evolved throughout the years. So it isn't just Pasifika isn't just for women, color, but it's actually to move us to be self-determined leaders. And I think that came through the years because while we were working on the mission, we started working on ourselves as well. So that's a very condensed version. I'll give it to Sister to add on her flavor as well with our story.
No, that's beautiful, sis. And it's to your question, Robin, about how did we build such a strong relationship that we would start a business together? We didn't start. I might have suggested to Ete within 5 months of knowing her. Oh, within 5 months of knowing her, I was emailing strangers asking them to give us money for her refurbishing and redistributing devices. And like that's 5 months of first ever meeting in our life. And next minute, I got an email back from an organization that wanted to give $50,000. So like, I guess when Ete is very discerning. I am a lot more open, and now I've learned to become more discerning. But what we saw one another was like a lot of deep mutual respect, a lot of evidence that we are doers, not just talkers. I think we're both, I wouldn't maybe call us rejects, but to a certain degree, we've never really fitted in. And we've never really been part of the cool kids, been part of the mysterious vibes, that like all of those kind of existing cliques. And I think for us, we found a sense of safety and community in one another for the sides of ourselves that we normally have to dim in order to fit into some of the pre-existing groups that kind of exist in our ecosystem. And as that started to unfold and we sort of found more of a ways in which we could show up authentically with our friendship within one another, as well as our aspirations for the world and for what we wanted to see the change, then came the idea of, I just literally asked Ete one day, I was like, oh, sis, what do you, and I was so afraid that she'd reject me. Like, let's just put that out there. I was like, what do you think if we just like joined forces. Like we were doing individual things within the same mission, within the same problem. And I just sort of said, hey, look, what do you think if we just, came together? And I will absolutely mention Jackie Johnston from Foundation North, because she was the catalyst to this. She reached out on some of the work that I was doing under the umbrella of People for People at the time. And she said, hey, look, Julia, I see you're doing great stuff in the community. Like, I see you're driving change. What else are you trying to do? Like, basically, who are you? What are you up to? And so from that, I then reached out to Ete and I was like, well, rather than me doing this on my own, what about if we both came in and we both formed this together? We both went on this journey together. And I don't know why Ete keeps saying yes to any of my ideas, because they have thrown her in the Yarra River, as she's mentioned. She's left safety and now she's out here swimming with the sharks with me, on a lifeboat made out of, I don't know, fiber, which is very sturdy, and it's all of those things, but it's also very hard, very, very hard. We don't have a V8 engine on this boat, on this vaka. So I don't know why she said yes in that moment. She's probably regretted it, and so has her family, her partner, her friends, the jobs that have lost her amazing talent. But she said yes. And before she knew it, I was writing a proposal within like 48 hours and putting her name on it, and we were going off to the bank and putting our names underneath the bank and taking on liability together. And yeah, it's kind of, we've formed the strength in our bond as we've built a business, but the core of where we started from was never an intention of gaining an agenda from one another. And I think that's really, really different in today's world, is that we never had an agenda with one another. We were just so grateful to find one another. And when you're operating from that place, like, that's a place where you never want to lose one another too. And so you're willing to go through a lot of the hard stuff that business requires from you. And I think when starting from that place, we've also been able to grow and evolve and heal ourselves and work on ourselves together, because we don't want to be bad to one another. We don't want to hurt one another. We don't want to, we actually really deeply love and cherish one another, aside from the fact that we've built this amazing thing. And so when that's, you might have other co-founder relationships in business where you want somebody because of their skills. So you might be willing to treat them in certain ways, where we didn't start from that place, and that's never been the reason why we spend the more time with one another than our own partners. So, that's also something I think that's really important to call out, and is really special.
For anybody who's listening, checking out the Fibre Fale Instagram account is an absolute joy, because you see Eteroa and Julia chatting to each other, and it's a great account. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting, Robin, because a lot of people don't think we'd be friends. So that's like also just fascinating from societal's view and perception of us, that they wouldn't assume that Ete and I would be friends, let alone like best friends, let alone business partners, let alone like sisters doing their deepest, hardest healing work, and that knows all of our deepest, hardest secrets of one another. Like it's definitely really fascinating. It's it's very interesting.
So tell me about the mission, that you identified your common mission, and this is what drove you to create Fibre Fale.
Do you want to kick us off, sis?
Yeah. So when we started, the mission was to create pathways for our Pasefika people in tech, but to do that through the deliverables that we give. So we give in-person deliverables and also online digital deliverables. But throughout the years, we've noticed that it wasn't just about putting more of our Pasefika people in tech. Like I mentioned before, we actually wanted them to become self-determined leaders. So that's, if I give an example, we want them to not just be in their jobs for 20 years. We want them to move into leadership roles. But also being part of being self-determined isn't just being, high in the corporate landscape. It actually is, what we did as well, which is to leave the corporate landscape and to build your own businesses, to thrive in the economy. And for us, a lot of it is, our Pasefika economy, but also just to make them, be their own bosses. And I think that really was a big thing for us throughout the years is we noticed that a lot of our people needed to be pushed within their mindsets and that because you can't just tell them to be self-determined and they haven't left their 20-year job. You've got to try and navigate them. And yeah, it does seem like a journey, but it's a journey that we're very dedicated, especially Julia. Julia has, people need to understand, they need to pay for what sister does because she really knows how to shift you from tier 1 to tier 14 real fast. And these tiers are the movement of or your trajectory in your career. And what we've noticed is the mission has evolved, but also myself and Julia have evolved, meaning that whoever comes through Fibre Fale will not just be given the deliverables that we've given that's attached to our mission, but it actually shows in our impact report that there's more when they come through Fibre Fale. So I'm so sorry for my big tangent, but Julia, would you like to add more about my thoughts of this ever-changing mission?
No, it's beautiful, sis, and it's really accurate. Yeah, we went wide. We wanted to help everyone, everywhere, at any stage. We wanted to help the entirety of our community. We also recognize we're a team primarily of just Etsy and I, plus our amazing sister Saffron, who also has 3 babies, 5 and under. So she has another full-time job that's far more important than this one. And so it's really more or less just us three that are driving this incredible organization. And we can't be everything to everyone because then we're never going to do anything well. And so we started to recognize more and more and refined more and more where are we uniquely best placed to make a difference within the system, because we're not the only ones that are trying to make a difference in this space and on this problem. So where is the space which Fibre Fale can uniquely and play to our strengths and hold as we're all contributing to the systems change we want to see? Where is that white space? Where is that deepening that we can do in our particular area that again contributes towards the overall shifts that are occurring? And that's when we really saw that by not being attached to any one organization or kind of having corporate partnerships or government, there's a lot of freedom that we're just trying to hold on to. We're able to be in the space that doesn't get as much attention because typically organizations might have to get large numbers, or they might need to curate what they're doing towards how is that going to get corporate partnerships. And so we can operate with a little bit more autonomy, and as Ete mentioned, with a little bit more self-determination around where do we want Fibre Fale to be and where do we want to see the shifts happening. The numbers might be smaller, but they are also a lot deeper. And the quality of that shift can still have a compounding effect, a seismic effect, but it might not be 1,000 people attending a conference. It may be more 15 people attending a deep in-person leadership camp. So we've gone through that journey of recognizing where we want to play, who we are, and especially not just who we are as people, but who are we as systems changes, who are we as agitators, who are we as change agents in this particular wicked problem in the world. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey.
In terms of your impact, what are you proudest of so far?
Sis, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
Oh, I'll go first. I think I'm really proud that we have a bomb impact report. I'm so proud because I'll give you a very condensed context. Sister's from the moment we were doing stuff, Sister knew from the get-go we needed to measure our impact. Sister was real, like, our sister mentioned before, she could foresee things. I'm here, so I have no experience, well, actually at the time, of evaluation. So every time we did stuff, so like my level of understanding of impact reports or reporting was very low. It was more like, like Sister said, I'm on seats, trying to figure out that's not. But throughout this journey, I'm real proud that Sister really educated me and baptized me again in this world of evaluation to create a Pacific model, which is very rare. And with Sister's leadership in trying to build this, we saw multiple different models, and we knew, and Sister already mentioned it before, we don't fit in anything. And who would have known, even the work that we do, doesn't fit in with existing models. So I'm just proud that Sister took all of us on a journey to build this Pasefika model, which even to this day, when we look at it, it's like a certificate for me that one Sister took me on a massive journey, and then I've educated and now even more motivated to this world that you call impact. So that's what I'm proud of. Thank you, sis.
No, that's so like I have to be honest, Robin, when I look back at our first year and I was hell bent because I came from insights background, I came from a strategy background. I knew that because we'd been granted funding, everybody was going to ask us, well, what are they really doing? What are they like? And that just comes with tall poppy syndrome. That comes with being young brown woman. That comes with just people naturally hating anyone that's living out their dream. They want to, it's very easy to find ways to cut somebody down. And I recognized that from the jump. I also recognized I deeply want to learn. I deeply want to learn about what we're doing well and what we're doing wrong and what we can continuously improve on. So learner is like one of my top strengths, and I really am. I'm not sorry to the team, but I put us through a lot to go and prioritize that in our first year of business because that's not normal. Most people will never do an impact report in their first year. They will wait until they're at least because it's not a priority, right? As in a priority, you're just straight delivery constantly. And so for us to be able to do delivery plus measuring our impact from actually even 6 months prior to us getting our first big chunk of funding, I was still making us do surveys, collecting numbers, collecting insights, was such a our evaluators say we were astonishing, and we forced them to level up. Okay, I forced them to level up because I wasn't going to just take an off-the-shelf approach. I wasn't going to agree to something that wasn't fit for purpose for our particular work. And I guess I'm a rebel at the core. I'm an innovator at the core, which means I don't accept status quo. So they had to work harder. And my gosh, did they what? And now we've got this incredible Pacific-led hibiscus model, which is one of one, which has broken all new grounds. We recently presented it at the New Zealand Evaluations Conference, which I didn't even know existed. And it's something that can be presented across the globe, across the world, as a piece of intellectual property, ancestral intelligence that we co-created and we built, and that's ours and we own. And to be able to have done that when we're still only this young, and again, I don't know what drove me to believe that we needed to do it so early, but I'm grateful for past Julia, and I'm grateful for how it captures the difference that we've made, because I know we've made a difference. Ete knows we've made a difference. My phone knows, and how many messages it gets, and DMs and comments and requests, and it's just I can barely keep up. And so finding a way where we can storytell that's meaningful, and finding a way we can measure that's authentic, and also being able to prove out that we are a different kind of organization. We're not like organizations you've seen before, and we pride ourselves on that, and we are lifting the standards for what we want to see by walking the talk.
Shout out to Rachel and Emily.
Yeah.
Our sisters.
Yeah, we love them. We do everything for them. They definitely came on a journey with us and went above and beyond, and it's just created the most beautiful outcome.
So, the big question, what's next? You've narrowed your focus down. Tell me a bit more about that.
We're currently navigating where is the next horizon. I guess where is the next glass ceiling? And where is the next best place where we can make a difference? It's not to say that anything we're doing is wrong. It's not to say anything we're doing is not enough. It's more to acknowledge that we are also growing individuals that want to keep growing. And we're in amongst releasing something that's we've been amazing. We've released what's called a digital academy. It's really incredible piece of work. It's delivering Pacific-led education, Pacific-led tech education, personal development, professional development, and we're continuing to build that out with new masterclasses. And it's something that we're super, super proud of. And at the same time, we're asking ourselves, you know, we're always humbling ourselves around, well, where are we next best to serve, and where does Fibre Fale have potentially new people that might need to come on and lead it, and we'll find something from it, and we'll champion that platform to new levels as well. So there's this sort of understanding that none of this is fixed. All of this is continuing to emerge. And so the way in which we built the strategy 5 years ago, 3 years ago, is not the same strategy that we're executing today. That's strategy. Strategy is not an event, it's a process that keeps going. And so we're continuously asking ourselves, well, yeah, where are we best placed to make a difference? And is Fibre Fale the vessel? Are we the people? And just being really just being really honest with ourselves. We do a lot of self-work, we do a lot of introspection and retrospection. And as much as I could say, yes, we're going to keep out, you know, releasing reports, capturing new awards, making a difference, I don't know how we're going to do that. And I don't think it's nice to not know. It's nice to know that these things will emerge as we keep reflecting and we keep evolving and we keep understanding. And also as the shifts keep occurring underneath us, because that's what we're really trying to stay in tune to, are all the shifts that are happening underneath us. One of our mentors talks about this around sphere intelligence or multifaceted intelligence. And that's a really ancestral way of being. It's pulling in the birds, the stars, the sea, the boat, that it's pulling in so many different things that help guide you to where your next destination is, versus you being so fixated on reaching that destination. And so we're really in tune with that. And that's my long answer to a question that everyone would like a simple answer to, but that's not really life, right? So I don't know if you have anything else you would like to build on as well.
Yeah, no, totally alone. Just watch the space.
I mean, what I can say, Robin, is we've done this in 2 years. Like, who knows where we could be in another 2?
It's interesting in terms of the interview. Like, I have this sort of sense, you know, in your model, you've got the be, do, tell. There's a real sense of you working at layers of your own self-development, the development of Fibre Fale and how you think about that, and watching the development of the wider environment that you're operating in. And I love that mix of the personal, the work on yourself as a person, about how you be in the world, and then how that, you know, there's this great big global world of activity, and you're piloting Fibre Fale through that.
Yeah. I don't think Fibre Fale will be the only baby that we birth together. I think it's being created from one version of Ete and I, but Ete and I are not finished. We're not finished evolving. We're not finished discovering who we are and what makes us us. And so when I recognize that, I recognize there may be other things that we will create together. There may be other things that we will discover that we want to pursue. And like you say, it's your inner world reflects your outer world. And we do a lot of coaching, and we've got a beautiful workshop on Friday that's going to be visioning from 2025 beyond. And that's really exciting. That's literally tomorrow, Friday, the 13th of December. I obviously chose a really good date to do existential evaluations on. And I don't know what will come out of that. And I love the fact that, well, part of me, my Taipei, probably hates the fact that I don't know. And then also part of me knows, well, man, if we've pulled this off with what we've had so far and the skills and the knowledge we've had so far, then who knows what we could dream up into the future with the new knowledge and the new skills and the new relationships and understandings and that we have right now. So yeah, it's definitely a watch this space. And it's I think it's important to honor that there's no one thing that somebody might do in their lives. I think that if somebody finds that, that's a beautiful blessing. I think the more realistic thing is that we continue to discover what we want to be doing in this world, and that's a never-ending journey. And a never-ending experiment, I'll say, because we're just continuously experimenting and learning and evolving.
Final question for each of you, and I've asked this in each of our 10 for 10 interviews. You know, in a world of trouble, and when there seems to be a lot of challenges, both in Aotearoa and internationally, What makes you hopeful? Eteroa?
What makes me hopeful is the next generation. They're very different. But they also quite, and when I say different, it's the way that they approach, the world is, is it the same as me? Of course not. But also it gives me hope because I know the generation before ours were thinking the same about us as well. So having the ability to, or actually the opportunity to be a good ancestor and to support them in any way, because I, personally in my journey, I didn't feel I got the same kind of support from, I had elders, but there were, a few gaps. So I can't be perfect, but I know that I'm hopeful knowing that it's my time to be the good ancestor. And also if I can do anything in my lifetime to support them, and if that's technical insights or even just being there to support them with their identity, then I can go to sleep happy, knowing that I've done the best that I could to be that good ancestor, but to pass knowledge for them as they go into their future endeavors. So yeah, that's a beautiful question. Whaftai.
Nice. I think I'm definitely aligned to what Ete mentioned around the next generation. I'm hopeful that given the fact that we are proving out what happens when you leave the comfort zone, what happens when you leave traditional ways of being, and what can be on the other side of that, I'm hopeful that more people recognize that on the other side of kind of, I guess it's like what is it, blue pill, red pill, on the other side of taking that different course, it's not a dead end. I think a lot of people are living somewhat asleep to their own potential. And so I'm hopeful. And what gives me hope is that more people awaken to their potential and what can be on the other side of taking the road less traveled and deciding to choose and being courageous enough to choose the unknown, knowing that there is not a dead end. There is no dead end here. So that's what gives me hope. That's what definitely gives me hope.
Eteroa and Julia, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm so excited for you, and we'll be watching this space.
You will be, definitely.
Thank you.